Wait, what if you literally can't die? Like, what if the universe fundamentally refuses to let your consciousness end? To understand how that could even be possible, we have to push you to the absolute edge of existence in this explainer. I want you to imagine an impossible, completely inescapable scenario. A situation so definitively lethal that your chance of survival is zero. But what if, against all laws of logic and probability, you simply cannot be deleted from existence? Let's test this terrifying idea right now. You're sitting on your couch. Right next to you, a live nuclear bomb. The timer hits 0, the detonator clicks, the flash blinds the room. You should be vaporized in a microsecond, but you aren't. You survive. Wait, how? Why? To figure this out, we have to leave the living room and shrink down. Way, way down. Part 1. The Shapeshifting Electron and Reality's Randomness. Look, if you kick a normal marble 10 times with the exact same force, it lands in the exact same spot 10 times, right? But fundamental particles, no way. They don't play by those rules. An electron isn't a tiny, predictable marble. It's actually a shape-shifting wave of probability. It ebbs, it flows, and at this microscopic level of reality, absolute randomness is the rule. Think of it this way. If we shoot an electron gun at your apartment 100 times, the laws of quantum mechanics dictate that 80 times that electron lands in your living room and 20 times it ends up in your kitchen. We have absolutely no idea why it picks one or the other in any given moment. We just know the odds. This mathematical story works insanely well. It powers our microchips and explains the stars. But what does it actually mean? Which brings us to part 2, the scientific schism. What does it mean? This exact question has literally driven brilliant minds completely mad. Physics is split into two furious camps. On the left, we've got the linguists. Their motto, shut up and calculate. To them, quantum mechanics is just math grammar. It predicts experiments, end of story, no hidden meanings. But on the right, the literary critics. They're screaming that we need to read between the lines. They believe this crazy math is telling a very real, very physical story about our universe. And that story is called the many worlds interpretation. Here's the massive twist. That probability wave, it doesn't just describe random chance. It describes reality literally splitting apart. It suggests that all physically possible outcomes coexist simultaneously in invisible, branching realities, meaning our universe is just one tiny branch on an infinitely complex cosmic tree. So back to our electron gun. If the wave is split 80% to 20%, the electron itself actually splits. 5 versions of the electron now exist. 4 go to the living room, 1 goes to the kitchen. But here's where it gets incredibly strange. You're in the room, right? You're observing this. And because you observe the electron, you split too. There are now 5 versions of you. And right now, every second of every day, bazillions of parallel yous are branching off, coexisting in invisible realities, totally unaware of one another. All right, part 3, the ultimate experiments. So if these invisible worlds really exist, how on earth do we prove it? Well, we have to bring back the nuclear bomb. I need you to mentally place yourself right back in that room. Step 1, you sit directly on the bomb. Step 2, your very brave assistant aims a quantum electron gun connected directly to the detonator. Step 3, you pray. Because if the detector in the living room senses the electron, the nuke detonates. If it lands in the kitchen, you live. These are absolutely terrifying stakes. There's an 80% chance the electron hits the living room detector and vaporizes you instantly. There's only a 20% chance it hits the kitchen and you live. You take a breath and you tell your assistant to pull the trigger. The gun fires. Beep, the electron hits the kitchen, you survive. You wipe the sweat from your forehead and you say, do it again. The gun fires. Beep, kitchen again. You survive. You do it again. And again. And again. Beep, beep, beep. You run this experiment 100 times in a row. The trigger clicks 100 times. The bomb never explodes. You're just sitting there completely unharmed. Okay, pause and consider the sheer, staggering impossibility of what just happened. If there is only one universe, you should have been vaporized almost instantly. The odds of you surviving this cosmic Russian roulette 100 times in a single reality, it's 1 in 10 duovigintillion. That is a 1 followed by 70 zeros. It is mathematically impossible luck. The universe just whispered its deepest, darkest secret to you. And that secret is quantum immortality. See, in the many worlds theory, every single time that gun fired, 4 versions of you were instantly incinerated, but 1 version survived. And because a dead consciousness cannot experience anything, you, the observer, can only ever experience the branch of reality where you are still alive. From your perspective, you will always survive. You just killed hundreds of parallel versions of yourself, but you're immortal. Which leads us to part 4, the price of immortality. This kind of immortality isn't a superpower, guys. It's a mathematical prison. Because even when you aren't sitting on a nuke, the universe is still splitting. Every single day, insanely lethal things happen. But in some distant branch of reality, a miraculous quantum fluke saves you. A deadly tumor starts to grow, but a random cosmic ray perfectly snipes the Panzer cell. A lightning bolt strikes, but a quantum anomaly makes it miss by a mere meter. A washing machine literally falls from a 10-story window right onto you, but all of its atoms miraculously quantum tunnel straight through your body. But this comes at a massive cost, because for every you that experiences that miraculous survival, bazillions of other yous didn't get lucky. They died. And according to this theory, your parallel versions are just as real, just as conscious, and just as important as the you watching this right now. So please, whatever you do not test this. Do not rely on quantum immortality. If you see a washing machine falling from the sky, get out of the way. Save as many branches of yourself as you possibly can. Now, we have to ground ourselves back in hard, empirical reality for a second. As captivating as this is, quantum immortality is just a philosophical hypothesis. It's an interpretation. It is not proven science. So far, no literary critic scientist has actually sat on a live nuclear bomb to prove the linguists wrong. If the shut up and calculate crowd is right, there's no branching tree. There are no other worlds. You really only get one life. But what if they're wrong? What if the many worlds idea actually is the true nature of our universe? It leaves us with one incredibly dark, unsettling thought. If consciousness only survives in the branches where it defies the odds, how many times have you already died today?